10 minutes. So I'm going to talk about perfecting operative steps. Now, perfecting operative steps is basically mastering and timely management of the intraoperative steps, which is essential for a happy patient. If you have not mastered your intraoperative steps properly, be it phaco, be it SICS, be it femtocataract surgery, you will land up with a very unhappy patient. So basically, this course is for comprehensive ophthalmologists. So my talk will be more based on the phaco-cataract surgery, but it applies to all sorts of surgery, whether it is manual SICS, phaco, or the flats. So tissue handling is important. So we start from the block. So be prepared to, when you give the block, whether you are comfortable in doing a topical block or a peribulbar block. This is very, very important. You don't have to take it to the ego that I'm a topical surgeon. You see whether you are compatible to do in a topical to do that particular case in topical anesthesia or peribulbar anesthesia, and choose proper anesthetic technique. The incision length and the width of the incisions are very important. I'll show in my future slides with the videos that if the incisions are not adequate, what all complications can occur. Capsule management is very, very important, be it NS2 or 3 gate cataract or a mature or a hypermature cataract. I always advocate that please use trypan blue dye and use a proper CCC technique. Follow the dictum which is being taught how to do a CCC. Trypan blue always enhances the anterior capsule visibility, and it is a must. And I always advocate to all my students that don't proceed your cataract surgery without using trypan blue. Also, trypan blue it reduces the elasticity of the anterior capsule and makes it more brittle. So if at all your axis is going out with a shearing force, you can pull it towards the center and regain the axis. Viscoelastic, you have to be very careful when you want to use a viscoadaptive, when you want to use a viscodispersive. Coming to the chopping technique, no egos. 4 quadrant technique is good. Stop chop is good. Direct chop, lip chop. Every chop technique is good. Whatever works best in your hand with causing minimum damage to the surrounding tissue should be used. Cortex wash. Always the dictum is don't never pull the cortex. Always try to peel it off. Have a tangential force. Never have a never have a perpendicular force. Always polish the posterior capsule. Anterior capsular polishing should be done only when indicated in certain cases. IOL loading and insertion is very, very important. What things you have to keep in mind when you're loading the IOL? The temperature, the visualization when you're loading, and the angle of insertion of the IOL, the angle of insertion at the cartridge into the anterior chamber or the tunnel technique. You have to be very careful. Why I'm highlighting all these points in the subsequent videos, I'll be telling you all what can go wrong. Visco wash behind the IOL is very, very important. If you don't wash your visco behind the IOL, there might be an IOL rotation, especially it is very drastic when you are using a toric IOL, or you can, if your axis is small, you can have a capsular distension syndrome. Wound closure, again, proper hydration is a technique which has to be learned, and all the 6 wards has to be hydrated. So without wasting much time, I now proceed with my first surgery, that is mastering a perfect cataract surgery. So always after giving the block, whatever is comfortable, you have to stabilize the globe. So if you want to cause less bleeding, what I advocate is to use these fixation rings which are available with any surgical instrument. So I use this fixation ring instead of using one tooth forceps, because this gives us more stability to the globe. And before you make the side port, the 2 side port insertions, always inspect your side port blades, whether the tip of the blade is sharp or it is bent. Don't make too large a side port, too large an incision. Always make sure that the incision is adequate at the limbus. The 2 side ports are created. Technique of injecting the trypan blue is very important. You take trypan blue on a 1 ml syringe with air. So when you inject, first the air goes, and when below the air over the anterior capsule, spread your trypan blue. Then use a BSS to wash the trypan blue what you have injected. What I usually do is I wash through both the side ports. First through that side port from where I have not injected the dye, I wash through that, because I want the trypan blue dye to come out from both the side ports, so that both these side ports get stained a bit with the help of trypan blue. So once it is stained, you don't struggle to find out your incision where it is when you're putting your bimanual. Again, fix up the globe and plan up your tunnel. It should not be very thin or a very long tunnel. It should be an adequate size. The length and the width of the tunnel should be adequate. You can see that the length and the width is adequate. A 3 planar incision works out better. Always try to make a 3 planar or a 2 planar. Coming to the rhexis, it is very important. This particular step is going to help you master your rhexis. These are rhexis marker which are available. This is a 5.5 rhexis marker. You center the pupil and then center the marker on the center of the pupil and mark it on the cornea without any dye. Just put an imprint of the marker on the corneal epithelium. You get this landmark. Now you start with your rhexis following the dictum of the rhexis. What has been taught, that always make short nicks, Keep the capsule flat over the anterior capsule, flap it and keep it flat. Whenever the chamber gets shallow, again reform the anterior chamber with visco. So the rhexis will never give away. Now you have a marker on the cornea which will help you as a guide to have a 5.5 rhexis. So I request everybody to start using this, because by using this technique of rhexis marking, you will be getting a more central circular rhexis and of uniform size. So basically you are refining your own results by doing this. You can see in this video, I am proceeding edge to edge with what is marked. And the my capsular flap is always flat because the capsule is stained. I can easily see that I'm peeling only the capsule without disturbing the underlying cortex. But this is very, very important. Now, this trypan blue always helps. Why? Because it reduces the elasticity and makes it brittle also. So if at all in mature or hypermature cataract, your axis is going away, you can just drag the capsule towards the center, and with the shearing force, you regain the control of your axis. So this is the way you are going to do the axis. And as I told you, and this impression what you have created on the epithelium is very transient. After 2 hours, when you open up the patch, you don't see this axis marker which is there. Coming to the hydro, always use what I recommend is use a flat tipped hydro dissection cannula. Never use a round tip. Lift up the edge of the anterior capsule, and when you inject, make sure that you see the wave. After you see the wave, always tap the nucleus and decompress it. If the cataract is NS2 or 3 grade, I always recommend to make an hydro dissection followed by delineation. And why hydro delineation? Because you should always have the protective epinucleus layer that will give you as a cushion, and that will avoid the rent if at all there is any deep trench or any if a phacoprobe is more deeper. Another thing you saw, I was injecting viscoelastic substance on the cornea and not saline. There is a general trend which I've seen wherever I travel, that everybody tells their OT staff, saline dalo, saline dalo. No, I don't advise this. The more you put saline on the corneal epithelium, the epithelium gets damaged, the basal cell junction gets damaged, and the epithelium becomes bruised. So always cover the cornea if it is becoming dry with the help of HPMC. Now, with a good dialer or a chopper, what you are comfortable with, I usually use a long dialer, about 1 millimeter in length, the tip of the dialer. Try to rotate the nucleus at least 5 to 6 movements. Why 5 to 6 rounds? Because this will separate any corticocapsular adhesion which is there, and this will help you in your proper aspiration of the epinuclear shell also at the end of the surgery. And now coming to the chopping technique, always inspect your sleeve, whether it is torn or whether it is intact, whether the tip of the phaco is exposed adequately or no. Usually I tell we should expose about 0.75 to 1 millimeter. My preferred technique is a stop and chop or direct chop or a flip chop. As I told you, it depends on the type of cataract. You have to modify your chopping technique. So you should be well versed with all the technique. You saw I've made a deeper trench. Make the trench so deep that at least 2 times the thickness of the phaco tip you have entered deep. Then separate the two hemispheres, and you make sure that you visualize that the two hemispheres are being separated both at the inferior and the superior part. Once you have done that, then engage one of the hemisphere and try to chop into small techniques. Now again, the vacuum, the flow rate and the power should be adequate. You just need a bit of vacuum. If you're having a linear control, I can't display my settings over here because the overlay was not working. Just use a bit of vacuum for this NS2 to 3 grade cataract. Just engage, and you can see with the help of a dialer, you can just separate into small pieces. Again, separation, it is very important. You saw this step now. When you're separating, make sure that you separate through and through. If you just superficially separate and the posteriorly the cataract is intact, then while aspirating or while emulsifying each and every quadrant, you would have difficulty or you will have more energy which is being wasted. So once you are chopped into 6 or 8 pieces, whatever you are comfortable with, the timer is, was it 10 minutes set? Only 1 minute is left in my talk. Can somebody guide, Aman?
Yes, sir.
It was 10-minute timer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So you can see once the chopping is done, the hydration of the wound is very, very important. What I advocate is hydrate all the 6 walls of the incision. Never hydrate only the superior or the inferior wall. Always hydrate all the 6 walls. So that will help you in preventing endophthalmitis. Now, incision related, I can't show all the videos. because we don't have much time. If it is a long incision, when you are creating a long bimanual incision or a long tunnel, when you are doing the phaco, you'll have a lot of corneal folds visible, which should not be visible. So I wouldn't advocate that. This is a video which shows that you felt that the rhexis was complete. But in spite of staining that anterior capsule, when we finished the rhexis, I was thinking the rhexis is complete. But when I was chopping, I realized it's a capsular flap. So timely recognition and management of that complication is very, very important. I'm sorry, I can't show all this because of paucity of time. Only thing which I would like to highlight is only a small video of 1 minute parallel going on. So when you are injecting the IOL, the temperature of the OT is very, very important, especially when you're using a hydrophobic IOL. If your temperature is too cold, you can see in the left-hand video that the trailing haptic is stuck into the cartridge. In the right-hand video, the IOL has rotated because of the temperature. The IOL is hard and it has rotated and flipped and has been implanted in the wrong side. So now we have to flip it into the entry chamber. You saw the way I'm flipping it, and you have to redirect the proper orientation of the IOL into the entry chamber. So this timely recognition is very important, and that is possible only when you inspect each and every step of your surgery. So that's what I wanted to say. Thanks a lot. Thank you for the time taken.